For the rest of Lesson 11.4 Day 2, we're going to continue practicing sketching Venn diagrams and then use them to help us find the probability. There were 1,560 juniors and seniors surveyed at a local school. 840 were seniors, 630 read a daily paper, only 215 of the paper readers were juniors. So let's start with our Venn diagram. That first sentence talks about our universal set. So this entire rectangle makes up for 1,560 juniors and seniors that were surveyed. We know that 840 were seniors, so I'm going to go ahead and put an S on the left circle representing my seniors. And right at the edge, I'm just going to say that that equals 840. I don't know how many of the seniors are in my overlap and how many are not, so that's why I'm just writing that at the edge, because I know the whole circle will add up to 840. Our next sentence says that 630 read a daily paper. So over to the right in our other circle, I'm going to put P for paper, and that circle will add up to 630 students. Only 215 of the paper readers were juniors. Okay, so for this part, that means that if they're juniors, we don't want to overlap it with our senior circle. So that 215 should go over here. Because if they're not seniors, then we know they must be juniors. So that's why we're putting that in the outer part of our P circle. Okay, so now we don't have everything filled out quite yet, but we can use the numbers that we are given to help us solve for the rest of the Venn diagram. So what I mean by that, let's start by looking at our P circle. We know that the whole circle will add up to 630, and we know that part of it is 215. So to figure out this other part, the overlap between seniors who read the paper, we would just subtract those two numbers. So I would say 630 minus 215, and that equals 415. So we can go ahead and write 415 in our overlap, so that means there were 415 seniors who read the daily paper. Okay, next I'm going to do the same process using the 840 minus the 415, and that will tell us the number that goes out here. So 840 minus 415 equals 425. So that 425 represents seniors who did not read the daily paper. Okay, lastly, if you were to add up these three numbers, they would not add up to 1,560. So there's something that we're missing. The number that we're missing is the number that would represent juniors who did not read the paper. So to find that, we're going to take our total, 1,560, and we'll subtract those three numbers that I have written in green in our circles. So minus 425, minus 415, minus 215, and that equals 505. So we have 505 juniors who did not read the paper. Okay, now that we have our Venn diagram filled out, we can go ahead and answer the second part of this question. So let's take a look at that probability question. What is the probability that a student was a senior or read a daily paper? So, because we have an inclusive example, remember inclusive means that we did have an overlap, we'll start by adding together the two probabilities and then subtracting our overlap. So first of all, the probability that a student was a senior, we have 840 seniors total out of 1,560 students. Plus, The probability that a student read a daily paper, that was 630 students total out of 1,560. Then to subtract our overlap, that would be our number right in the center where our two circles overlap, which was 415 out of 1,560. When we put that together, 840 plus 630 minus 415, that gives us 1,055 out of 1,560. Then you can go ahead and use your ABC key to simplify this fraction, and you would get 211 over 312. So that means that the probability that a student was a senior or read a daily paper is 211 3/12. Before I move on, this would be a great spot to pause your video if you want to give this next one a try on your own, and then you can resume it when you're ready to check your answer. So number 8 says of 160 beauty spa customers, 96 had their hair styled and 61 had a manicure. There were 28 customers who had only a manicure. So our Venn diagram below, we have our universal set of 160 beauty spa customers. That's the entire group we're looking at. Then we know that 96 had their hair styled, so let's make one of our circles H, and we know that that is a total of 96 people. And then we know that 61 had a manicure, so let's use M for manicure, and that equals 61. Then there were 28 customers who had only a manicure, so keyword only there. So this means that that 28 should not be overlapping with our H circle. So this 28 will go over here. Okay. Next, we're going to use the same process we did in question 7 to fill out the rest of our Venn diagram. So let's start by taking our total of our M circle minus the part we know to figure out our second part, which will be our overlap. So 61 minus 28 equals 33. So we have 33 customers who got their hair styled and had a manicure. Next, we'll do the same thing by taking the total of our H circle minus the part we know to get the part we do not know. So 96 minus 33 equals 63. So that 63 would represent customers who only had their hair styled. Then lastly, we're trying to figure out how many of these customers did not get their hair styled or get a manicure. So we would take our entire total, that 160, and subtract those three numbers we have in the center of our Venn diagram. So minus 63, minus 33, minus 28, which equals 36. So you can put that 36 somewhere on the outside of our two circles. So for example, maybe those customers got their eyebrows waxed or something else that was not getting their hair styled, or a manicure. There's plenty of other options that they could get done at the beauty spa. Okay, now that we have our Venn diagram filled out, what is the probability that a customer had a hair styling or a manicure? So again, we have an inclusive event because we have that overlap. So we'll add together our two probabilities and subtract our overlap. So the probability that a customer had a hair styling is 96 out of 160. So we're using that total of people who had their hair styled. You can find that at the edge of your circle or in the sentences that we started with, plus probability that someone had a manicure. That was 61 people out of 160. And then subtracting our overlap would be 33 over 160. So 96 plus 61 minus 33 equals 124 over 160, and that reduces to 31/40. So there's a 31/40 chance that a customer had a hairstyling or a manicure.